He only met with me once, said my brother was killed by a black dragon, then just left. A flash of annoyance crossed Vivian's eyes. This disgusting creep was actually hitting on Irene's master. If she didn't need his power to get revenge, she wouldn't spend a single second around this loser. What a shame. I was actually thinking about having him over to my place. Edwin shook his head in disappointment. Victor, have the city lord get us settled somewhere, and reorganize the troops while you're at it. We move out tomorrow to deal with that black dragon. Yes, your highness. Victor gave a respectful bow. The next morning at the plaza of Holante City, hundreds of warriors in silver-heavy armor were assembled there. Edwin, Vivian, and Victor stood at the highest point of the plaza. Edwin wanted to do some kind of pre-battle speech, pump everyone up, but when it came down to it, the words just wouldn't come out. Victor could see Edwin was struggling. He gave a quiet sigh. Warriors, today we have one mission: to wipe out the evil dragon lurking in the toxic swamp. The moment he finished, the soldiers lost it. Are you kidding me? How are we supposed to take on a dragon? We'd just be walking to our deaths. The terrifying image of that black dragon was still burned into some of their minds. We have Prince Edwin backing us up, along with powerful warriors and spellcasters he's brought along. We can absolutely take down that dragon. When this is over, every single one of you will be a dragon slayer. Victor rallied. Dragon slayers? We can actually become dragon slayers? Some of the soldiers' eyes lit up. Every soldier who comes back from this campaign gets 1 gold coin. And depending on how many enemies you take down, there's even more on top of that. 1 gold coin. Most average families don't even spend that much in a whole year. That line from Victor hit hard. It was more than enough to make these guys willing to put their lives on the line. Meanwhile, deep in the toxic swamp, Dragon Mom was still curled up asleep on top of her treasure hoard, totally clueless that someone was already planning to slay her. I was holed up in my cave working on magic. Outside was Jing Shuang, that little tag-along, and Zilo with her earth pulse. Combine that with the detection spell. Looks like we could scan for underground ore deposits. I was experimenting with new spell combinations. Ever since I got a better handle on the feast magic, I'd started putting together the ingredient combos, but a bunch of roars echoing through the mountains completely threw off my focus. What's going on? I stepped out of the cave, annoyed. Bro, there's a huge human army heading this way. It's the same group from last time. They're chanting about slaying a dragon. They've already entered the forest. Slay a dragon? I was confused. Where were they when it actually mattered? Last time Dragon Mom wiped the floor with them, and not a single dragon got slain. But if they're bold enough to be shouting that, it means they must have a real shot at winning this time. If Dragon Mom actually died, that would be really bad news for me. Your Highness, I don't think this is a good idea. Victor watched hundreds of soldiers marching forward, chanting, "Slay the dragon." His original plan was to lure the black dragon out, then let Edwin hit it with a forbidden spell for a sneak kill. But this guy wanted to show off in front of that woman, so he decided to go loud, a full-on face-to-face brawl with the dragon. We're the royal army of the Nozen Kingdom. Since when do we sneak attack? Vivian hadn't expected this guy to be this reckless, but she smiled and said, His Highness is absolutely right. This is the perfect chance to show the whole continent what the Nozen Kingdom is made of. And just as they expected, Dragon Mom was already furious. Dragon Mom's 16-meter frame, like a small mountain, came soaring over the soldiers. You miserable humans! How dare you come back and disturb the great black dragon mother? Endless acid rained down from the sky. The soldiers barely had time to react. Their bodies were eaten away on the spot. Humans, you will pay for this! A crushing dragon aura bore down on Victor and the others. This was bloodline suppression, pure and raw. The two warriors beside Victor desperately wanted to bolt, but they held their ground around Edwin. It was their duty. Edwin, on the other hand, was about to wet himself. Your Highness, use the forbidden spell now! Vivian frantically reminded him. Right, the forbidden spell. Edwin scrambled to pull out a golden scroll and started channeling his mana into it. As the mana flowed in, the earth elements around them began to stir. Dragon Mom sensed something was off. She lunged toward them and unleashed her breath attack. But the acid barely reached them before it slammed into a translucent wall and stopped cold. Edwin's expensive enchanted gear was doing its job. At the same time, I suddenly looked up at the sky. Qing Shuang and Zilo both glanced up too, but they didn't see anything. What's wrong? Qing Shuang asked, confused. The earth elements around here feel off, like some kind of magic is... I hadn't even finished the sentence. Suddenly, countless flaming meteors came pouring down from the sky. This was a forbidden spell. Meteor shower, run! I saw what was coming and immediately bolted. Bro, wait up! Qing Shuang and Zilo scrambled to follow. Your Highness, your forbidden spell. Its area of effect. Why didn't you say something? Victor watched in anguish as the distant soldiers were crushed into pulp, one by one by the meteors. If he'd known it was this kind of forbidden spell, he never would have brought a single soldier. This was straight up throwing lives away for nothing. Victor, how dare you question my decisions? They're just soldiers. Dying on the road to dragon slaying, that's an honor. Once we slay the dragon and take its treasure, we can recruit as many soldiers as we want. But the meteor shower AoE spell didn't seem to be enough to kill the black dragon, just chipped away at her a little. Ha! Don't forget! I've got another forbidden spell scroll, Edwin said. Back in the toxic swamp at that moment, the human army and Dragon Mom were going all out. Your Highness, hurry! That black dragon is charging straight at us. With everyone watching, Edwin activated the forbidden spell scroll. Advanced firewolf summoning. Dragon Mom had barely charged at them when she got launched by a massive fireball. Then a blazing wolf-like creature appeared. That fireball, that was it! Nice, kill it! Edwin was hyped. Dragon Mom shook her head and let out a roar at the firewolf. She whipped her tail at it, but the tail passed clean through the firewolf's body. Didn't do a thing. Useless. The firewolf is basically immune to all physical attacks. The mana from the scroll was enough to keep this firewolf alive for at least a quarter hour, more than enough to kill a dragon. And this wasn't just any firewolf. This was the Firewolf Lord. Dragon Mom had been on the back foot from the very start, with 2 level 8 warriors circling her on top of that. If this fight dragged on, Dragon Mom was very likely going to lose. Dragon Mom knew it too, but walking away from all her treasure like that, just turning tail and running,